thank you. We have a few people online already. Jane Steinmetz, thank you so much for joining us. You are with the you're the managing director at Ernst & Young. Thank you. So glad that you could make it with us today. I was just talking about the conferences that I've had prior to this one. And one of the themes that sort of has resonated out of the dialogues is this whole notion that it's easy to lead when things are easy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think just in general, when things are going well, it's just easier. I think when things go really bad, like really south, that's when obviously it's harder, but it's harder on a number of fronts because it's when like a true personalities come out, and when people start to own the situation versus point fingers at other people, all of that, like you start to see true leadership characteristics come out of everybody.
So as we're thinking about leaders, and as I think about you as a leader, what do you think are your qualities or some of the qualities that have helped you be a leader?
Oh, good question. Well, I will say I'm a hard worker, and I've always been, I guess, accused of being a hard worker. I have a lot of tenacity. I really don't shy away from hard work at all. And I don't give up. I might get knocked down, but I will get back up. And I like to be in fifth gear. And I think because I'm viewed as a high energy person, I like to be in fifth gear. I get bored easily. So I tend to take on different things willingly. And I think as a result of that, wanting to be in fifth gear, not shying away from hard work, being receptive to take on different things, it's allowed me to expand my network and my skills over the years. So I'd say hard work. And then I guess a couple of other things. I always like to focus on like the greater cause, that common goal versus a personal goal. And I feel like when leaders are able to do that, focus on that group objective, it's infectious. It creates a lot of like a teaming environment versus a personal competitive one. So you're viewed as more trustworthy. People coalesce around that common goal. So I think that's also something that has been a way that I tick.
Now, when you think about, say, the leader that you were 2 months ago versus the leader that you are now, obviously you have the same personality, you are the same person, but certain qualities have really kind of risen to the top. Can you mention some of those?
Good question. Yeah, I haven't changed over 2 months. I'd say the world has changed. I think it's been turned a bit upside down. So what has propelled me now in this crazy time that we're in? I guess I'd say two things. So when I think of my role, right? So managing principal of the Boston office, I don't think of it as a role of authority at all. I think of it as a servant leadership. So I see my role as one in which I feel abundantly responsible for everybody in the office. I feel as if I report to them. It is my job to make sure everybody's well, everybody's safe, that we have the right information being provided, the right culture. So I would say that that's helped, because in this time that we're in, it's never more important for EY, for someone in my position, to be looking out for our employees and making sure everybody's well. And we always keep that as our North Star, which I'm happy to say EY does.
Yeah, I think it's so important to be able to know that you have somebody that you can count on,
Yeah.
that you have somebody that you can go to. Oftentimes, you just need that person there.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's a business situation, regardless. So the fact that you've stepped up even more, although you've been there, it's good to know there's somebody there that you can count on. When you think about your career, the trajectory of your career, there's obviously some things that stand out more than others that has helped you become the leader that you are. Can you talk about one or two of those examples?
Yeah. So in terms of guiding principles, you know, a dear mentor and friend of mine early on in my career, and I mean early on, said something, it just always stuck with me. And early on, he said the best thing you can do now and later is learn as much as you can and get along with everybody. It's so simple and it is so true. If like no matter what you're doing, if you just try to really fully understand the issue that you're digging into, the problem that you're trying to solve, and you just get along with people, it works. It's a simple formula. So that always really stuck with me. And then the other guiding principle, I guess it would be called, something I wish, I mean, I definitely do it now, and I started to do it earlier in my career, but I wish I would have really grabbed onto this from day one, which is step outside your comfort zone. Every time I step outside my comfort zone and I take something on that's foreign to me, I learn, I grow, I meet new people, and it propels my career. So I wish I would have done that earlier in my career, but I did do it earlier on.
I think you're so right. There's when you were talking, I was thinking that earlier in my career, I had this person I worked for, and I didn't like him at all. And
Did he like you?
and he didn't like me. We just had this immediate reaction to each other that was not pleasant. And I remember having coffee with him. And one of the things that I said to him, and as I think about it now, I thought the audacity of me to say that. But what I said to him was, I don't like you. You don't like me. It was actually when I think about it now, it's a funny conversation because when we sat down, he said, I know it's a little difficult to sit with your boss and, but don't be nervous. And I said, well, actually, I'm not nervous at all. I'm just trying to figure out the way to say to you that I don't like you. And so it was not a good thing, right? But what it did do was it created a relationship between us, because what he recognized was that I was willing to stand up for what I believed in. But more importantly, we were able to get along to do the job. We didn't have to be best friends. And so, to your point, you have to get along with the people you work with, although you may not like them as individuals beyond work.
Yeah, and I would say, if you were having that conversation, if you were working with 20 people and you had to have that conversation with 20 people, I'd say, that's a bit of a problem, right? It's like, but hopefully the other 19, everything was fine, right?
Right.
So I feel like you're absolutely right. We're not going to mesh or coalesce well with everybody. We will, maybe more so some versus others. But that ability to maybe have that sit down conversation, get it on the table, work it through and move past that, that's part of getting along. It's part of trying to tap into the skills of everybody versus just those that, think and tick like you. So yeah, I would put that as part of trying to get along with everybody. Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? And then touching on what you just said regarding challenges and taking those on, that allows you to grow.
Yeah.
Those are the things that allow you to grow. If you were thinking, when you think about success,
Yeah.
what comes up for you? What is success for you?
Oh, that is a loaded question, my friend. So I would say if I was to really think about success in the most broadest concept, it's really happiness. And that may or may not come from your job. So I feel like if you can just try to get to a point of health and happiness, that is success, no matter what your role is. In fact, sometimes I have 4 kids, and they'll see something on whatever they're looking at on their device, or something we're going by, and they'll say, wow, look how rich that person is, big house or whatever it might be. And I always say, in fact, they start to repeat it because I say it so much, is you're only as rich as the love in your house, not how big your house is, but how happy and how much love is inside of that house. So they might be rich in that gigantic house, or maybe not, but I would say, so that's kind of macro, but from a work perspective, what I define as success is doing a really good job on something. So it may be that I am asked to do an initiative or work on an account or take on a big role. If I am not feeling as if things aren't going well, it really weighs on me. Like if I am not, like, goals are set and I don't make those goals, it kills me, So to me, success is tackling something, tackling it really well, knowing I didn't leave any stone unturned, and meeting my goals. I like to meet my goals. I like to exceed my goals. I'm very kind of goal oriented.
Yeah, I think I agree, because I am like that as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think about too is there's certain habits that I have that really propel me forward.
Mm-hmm.
And when I spoke with some of the other folks, other leaders on the show, they had interesting habits. Not interesting like strange, but interesting how similar those type of habits. I'm curious to know some of your habits.
Gee, well, I would say in terms of, staying grounded, best practices type habits, I will say that servant leadership that we talked about, that really motivates my every move, making sure I'm doing as much as I can for our people, for my clients. So that's what motivates me. And then habits, I am big on lists. So at any given time, I usually have lists, and I break them up now between markets and clients. So it'd be markets plus certain clients that I'm more responsible for, people and community. And I will have my to-do lists, and I have to write it down on paper, and I have to go back to it and just make sure I'm ticking off these things to keep me organized. So I'm very much a list person. But another habit I would say, which keeps me sane and grounded, is family time. I just love spending time with my family, and that keeps me grounded because my most important role is being a mom, and they help me put everything in perspective. It's like humbling. So for example, in the morning, back when life was pre-social distancing, if I was getting ready to speak before 1,000 people, my kids really didn't care. All they cared about is I finally made them good scrambled eggs, because apparently I can't make scrambled eggs. So it keeps me grounded to say, yes, I have all this stuff I have to get done. I have to-do lists that I could, wallpaper an office with, but it'll all get done. And, kind of understanding that there's life outside of work, it keeps me grounded. So that is another habit.
I am a list person as well. I had to take a step back from the list because I was making lists of lists
Yeah. Yeah.
And I decided, that that was a little bit too much. But in order for me to stay motivated or focused,
Mm.
I do need to do those lists, and I do need to cross them off.
Yeah,
I can cross them off.
you feel so good when you start crossing them off versus adding.
Yes.
The other thing I will say is we've pivoted overnight to just working from home. And God bless, we've done that in many areas. We've done that seamlessly. One minute we were in the office, the next minute we're working from home. What we haven't done is developed habits and best practices that facilitates this new mode of operating. So I've been talking to a lot of friends and a lot of people doing what I'm doing, and I can't say I have cracked the code, but what everyone is coming back to is that you have to put in your calendar breaks. Because what I was doing, if you start sitting down at 6 a.m. and barely get up until 2, you are mentally exhausted, spent. And so if you start to schedule in breaks, you get up, you go for a walk, you come back, you do something other than, sitting at your that one table that you're at, you're actually more productive. So that is a long way of saying, in this environment, I'm trying to figure out the habits and best practices that are going to help me be as productive as I can be. And what's funny is it may mean just walking away for a little bit and coming back to be more productive. So new habits.
I think those are good. I have been playing with my schedule as well. Like you, I tend to be an early riser, and by the time that 10 o'clock is around, I've already been at work for a few hours.
Exhausted.
Yeah, and
mentally.
Yes. So you're planning, you're thinking. How do you add time with your children? Because you're home all the time now. So there's access, like within this 20 minutes that we've been together, my 2 boys have come down, gone to the refrigerator, looked at what is on the counter to eat, and made tons of noise where I had to mute my side of things but I can hear them. It was a little distracting at some points listening to that. So I had to kind of zoom in and focus on you. So that's new, that's different.
It's very new. We're all doing things new. And like you, I'm finding out just how much my kids eat. They eat so much. I am cooking all the time. So it's just new. It's a new world for us.
And I've never been a big cook. I love eating, but I love eating outside. And I have cooked more and more. My son cooked yesterday. But it seems that that's the new ritual, if you will. But what I wanted to get to when I was initially talking about the schedule was the fact, to your point, that you need to address what that schedule can look like for you since you're working from home, and how to put in breaks, how to put in time for yourself, how to put in, one of the things that one of the other guests talked about was his exercise routine. And how that helps him keep an opportunity to be reflective before he starts operating the day.
And that's it. And what will happen, what I'm finding, at least in my personal experience and those of my friends that I've been talking to, is if you don't put those breaks in and you do what I do, you start at 6 so that I'm completely prepared for all these meetings coming up. Then the meetings come up, call after call after call. Then you didn't schedule a break, you'll never get to exercise. Because by the time, 4 or 5 o'clock, even 3 o'clock rolls around, I'm spent. And so then you don't get to exercise. So to me, the habit that I want to form is exercising in the morning or putting a break in the afternoon where I know that's where I'm going to do that. And it's pre-programmed and it gives me that break that I need to come back and be actually more productive. I think you're on mute. Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I was talking about. My son just came down. He grabbed something to eat, so I had to mute that because I like to have my desk area in the living area because I don't want to be secluded in a separate room. So I've moved my office, and so it's become a little noisier, if you will. But you know, you've done so many great things, and you are, I have to say, and forgive me for just putting it out there, but you're such a strong ally to the community in all that you do to support diversity and inclusion. Honestly, you are, you know, the queen. And we're so glad to have you support that. What, and I'm not saying for you to be part of that, but talk about some of the things that you're proud of.
So I'm proud of the way my firm provides me and others with a platform to push D&I and inclusiveness to the fullest extent we can. I mean, everybody has more work to do, right? We recognize that, we're humble about that, but I will say the platform is there to try to move the needle to the fullest degree we can. So, for example, one of the things I'm most proud about is early on when I became an office managing principal of Boston, there was this Yes on 3 initiative in Massachusetts where there was a ballot initiative intended to try to take away certain anti-discrimination provisions that were relevant to transgender individuals. And you know, through EY, I was given a platform to educate about this ballot initiative and try to affect change and make a difference so that all individuals, including our transgender community, felt a sense of belonging, knew we were there for them. So that was one of my most proudest. We really came out in full force on that, which was good. I'm proud about our D&I councils, where we have individuals expending a lot of time trying to figure out how to snuff out unconscious bias in our firm and in the community. And we do this through mandatory trainings and the like for all levels to make sure we're educating people about how we all have biases. They may be implicit, but we've got to recognize when we're exercising them and stamp it out. So I would say those are just some examples that I'm really proud about. And well, by the way, you have children. I have children and 2 gigantic dogs who I'm hoping do not start barking.
They've been good. They've been good. Jane, it has been honestly a pleasure speaking with you. We have 4 minutes before we close down the session. I want to open it up to questions and answers. If anyone has a question, this is the right time to do so. Otherwise, I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, one of the things that has stood out for me is how quiet some leaders have been during this trying times, and how out there others have been, where you know what they're thinking, you know what they're doing. Where do you stand on those 2 types of leadership styles?
Well, I think everyone's trying to do the best they can. And if they're not out in the community, I hope that they're out within their, you know, quote unquote, 4 walls of their firm, because I do think this is a time where people need to understand what's going on. We've never been through this before. People are nervous. They are concerned. They are frustrated. You know, it just spans the spectrum. And so I think one of the best things we can do as leaders is be there to talk to our people, to answer their questions, and to be very candid when you say, I don't know. Here's what I think may happen. Here's some of the considerations that we're thinking about right now. The firm hasn't landed on an answer on that. Even if you say that, they know that they have the real-time information that you have. So we've been trying so hard, from our CEO, our America's CEO, Kelly Greer, to Carmen DeSimio, our global CEO, to myself in Boston, having kind of drop-in sessions and webcasts that provide that real time. I do think we should be vocal in the community as well. And I know a lot of organizations are coming to the rescue, trying to bring business leaders and other leaders together to talk about what we're all facing and what the state needs to think about, what we need to think about collectively. So.
No, I've noted it. I've thought about it. I, like you, appreciate when leaders are able to be clear and direct, and transparent, if you will, with what's going on with them, even if they are saying, I don't really know what we're doing, but we are planning, we're strategically working together.
So well said, Josefina. It's transparency, 100%. You hit the nail on the head.
That's what I do. Jane, honestly, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. I appreciate you so much and the support that you've given our communities.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing, trying to get the right messaging out and being a catalyst for that for our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. You too. Stay safe.
Thank you.